Ferrari is observing General Motors' entry into Formula One through Cadillac's debut. After receiving approval from the FIA and Liberty Media, the executives of the American automotive giant opted for the transitional use of Ferrari's new power units while waiting to become fully autonomous in building both their own chassis and second-generation turbo-hybrid units, starting from the 2028 season. Cadillac and its Formula One program partner, TWG Motorsports, have announced the creation of GM Performance Power Units. General Motors will run the team under the Cadillac brand and, as part of the previous Andretti-named project that was rejected as the 11th team with previous attempts, announced its intention to manufacture its own power unit to race with. But the date given for that to be a reality was 2028, meaning a power supply was needed for its initial 2 years of racing. This group will oversee the development and production of pure power units for any other team that chooses to use American engines. Board director, 1978 world champion Mario Andretti, had revealed a deal was struck with Renault under the team's previous guise, but the playing field had changed, given the change of management at Andretti Global, as well as the decision for the French manufacturer to cease its power supply in the championship and instead switch its Alpine team to Mercedes power. The new company will be led by Russ Oblines, who boasts 30 years of experience in motorsports and currently heads General Motors' Motorsports Propulsion and Performance Division. Oblines previously worked as the director of GM's Motorsports Propulsion and Performance team that has produced engines for Cadillac's sports car efforts, as well as those of Corvette. His achievements include the development of engines for Cadillac's hybrid endurance racing cars, competing in the IMSA Sports Car Championship, as well as the power units for the Corvette C8R. The headquarters of GM Performance Power Units will be near GM's Charlotte Technical Center in North Carolina, with a dedicated facility. The operations of the F1 team will be managed by a separate entity, Cadillac Formula Racing, based in the United Kingdom. The team principal will be Graham Loudon, former sporting director of Marussia. For Cadillac's Formula One program, the partnership with Ferrari provides a guarantee both during the 2-year transition period and in case of potential delays in the independent development of future turbo-hybrid power units. This serves as a sort of insurance, allowing Cadillac to access the know-how of one of the most ambitious manufacturers in the sport. But what advantage does a time-limited partnership offer for the historic Maranello-based team? First of all, Cadillac will take over from Sauber, which from the 2026 Formula One Championship will become the official team for the project of the 4-ring Audi brand. This means that even next year, there will still be 3 Ferrari-powered teams. As a result, the benefits will be both technical and political. From a purely technical perspective, having access to a greater amount of data on the brand-new second-generation power unit can only be a significant advantage. Typically, OEMs, namely original equipment manufacturers, allocate a certain number of resources to follow the on-track activities of customer teams. Until 2027, the Italian team will receive feedback from 2 affiliated teams, Haas and Cadillac. The 2.0 turbo hybrid power units are a major enigma, and having a wealth of data from 6 cars could be a decisive factor in the development process of the new power units. From 2026, only Mercedes will have a higher number of single-seaters powered by its own engine, thanks to its recent agreement with Alpine, in addition to its existing deals with McLaren and Williams. Politically, a customer team represents a new entity entering the sphere of influence of a manufacturer. This is a significant factor at a time when power unit regulations are likely to undergo refinements, modifications, and evolutions that could shift the performance balance in favor of one manufacturer over another. It is worth noting that, even now, with essentially a year left before the go-live, there is still much uncertainty regarding the performance of the new engines, particularly concerning the duration of the electric component's contribution over a lap. Having many allies at decision-making tables during a period of major uncertainty could prove to be a valuable trump card. On the other hand, Cadillac, the 11th F1 team approved for the World Championship starting in 2026, is already a thorn in the side of the teams currently at the back of the grid. After a tough battle to enter Formula One, the American outfit will enjoy significant advantages in studying and designing next year's car, as it will face fewer regulatory constraints on wind tunnel usage and computational fluid dynamics research hours, limitations that complicate operations for other teams. Although the new team must adhere to the 2025 budget cap rules, As outlined in Article 10 of Formula One's financial regulations, it will be allowed 115% of the standard wind tunnel time compared to the standard base, just like 10th-placed Sauber. It is therefore no surprise that Cadillac is now under close scrutiny, as its entry into the championship next year allows the team to prepare for its debut without having to split wind tunnel time between its 2025 car and future projects, unlike its rivals. Following the FIA's decision to tighten front-wing flex regulations from the Spanish Grand Prix onwards, teams that had planned to shift resources to their 2026 projects will now have to revise their strategies to comply with the new, stricter verification criteria. Meanwhile, TWG, not having a car on the grid in 2025, will have greater freedom of action. Cadillac is using one of Toyota's wind tunnels in Cologne, where former F1 consultant Pat Simons has laid the foundation for developing aerodynamics around Ferrari's power unit and gearbox. The Maranello team will supply the engine until General Motors is capable of producing its own unit, making the partnership with Ferrari strategic for ensuring a strong entry into F1 with a brand new, inexperienced structure, though Cadillac is assembling a highly experienced team familiar with the sport. Analyzing the 2026 Formula One technical regulations, the United States team could expand its collaboration with Maranello. In addition to the engine and gearbox, it might also request suspension components, following a model similar to the one adopted by the other American team, Haas, since its debut in 2015. There are no official confirmations yet, but this approach would not only secure a high-level technical foundation, but also allow Cadillac to invest in other areas of development, particularly in recruiting the personnel needed to manage two cars throughout the season. This strategy is a sound one, as it is pursued by other teams beyond just Haas with Ferrari. Examples include Racing Bull's relationship with Red Bull and Aston Martin's reliance on Mercedes's rear-end components until now. With little over a year before Cadillac makes its Formula One Grand Prix debut, there is scant time to prepare everything needed to ensure two race-ready cars can compete on motorsport's biggest stage, and setting a suspension supply deal with Ferrari gives the American team one less thing to worry about. Instead, Cadillac can focus its resources elsewhere, such as aerodynamic testing, which is being carried out at Toyota's Cologne wind tunnel, as well as expanding its workforce. The likes of Racing Bulls, Haas, and Williams must divert resources between 2025 development and the significant challenges of preparing cars for the 2026 Formula One Championship, where the regulations are changing dramatically. Cadillac, meanwhile, can focus all its attention and the entirety of its aerodynamic testing on 2026 alone, unburdened by the fact it has no presence on the grid in 2025.